Hi there everyone. I just thought I'd do an update on more of these homemade steak knife picks. I did a video a while ago on the other ones that I'd made. Well, I'm adding to the collection weekly, pretty much. So I just do a quick run through. That's the old original city rake, I think you call it, out of a hacksaw blade with the old hink shrink tubing on it. But because it's starting to bend, this has been pretty good, but it's starting to bend, so I knew that eventually this is going to break. So that's when I initially got the idea of using steak knives, after hearing about them on YouTube and by other people. So yeah, well, I'll give it a go, because these steak knives are so much stronger. I'm certainly not sorry I started making them, but of course I've stuffed a lot of them up too in the process of making them. But these sort of knives, they're dirt cheap. You go to opportunity shops or thrift shops or charity shops or whatever you call them, wherever you are, and they're dirt cheap, and then there's an endless supply. But they come in so many different varied styles and weights in the handle. I find them really handy. Instead of using, I can actually use the weight of the handle to assist me in the picking process. So, but that's a well, I don't know, I suppose it's a, I don't know if it's a boggeter, but I don't know, 3-pointed rake. I've had limited success with it, but it has worked. Another one, different style handle. They all come in various blade thicknesses as well. When you find this, that one there is a slightly thicker blade than that one. So that's another 3-pointed rake. That's worked as well. That's I think what you call a city rake, but that's sort of a prototype. I'm not sure if I've actually been successful with that one yet, but you know, maybe it depends on the lock that you're playing with at the time. So I won't chuck it out. I'll hang on to it. It might work on something one day. Probably on, you know, the tinier keyways, small padlocks maybe, something like that anyway. That, I think you've seen this one before, it's a short stumpy hook. It initially was a rake, but it snapped off. So fortunately it snapped where it curves, so I was able to make a short hook out of it. That's been really bloody good. That's a long hook. I'm not sure if I had that one on the last video, but that's a long hook that I made. This is a reach diamond, but it's very thin blade. That one has been successful. Another reach diamond. This one's a little bit thicker though. The blade not so flexible, it's a little bit thicker. That one gets into tight keyways and awkward shaped keyways. But yeah, they've both been okay. So then I made Big Daddy. This is a fairly thick one. This is more when frustration sets in, I can bring out the crowbar and get stuck into it. It's worked, but again it probably needs the right application. I've made a longer reach on it. It's not so much angled, it's just more longer. Pretty much, I suppose, like that thing there. That's supposed to be a curved one. Didn't work out 100%. But again, you know, it works. That's the thing about steak knives. You can pick them up anywhere and they're dirt cheap. So, I mean, if you stuff one up, okay, you bin it and make another one. That's what it's all about. So, yeah, nothing to write home about. Of course, I get a bit of shellac and put it on the woodwork just to make them look half respectable. When I talk about weights in the handles and that, that's why I made these. These are fairly heavy, so I can sort of bounce this on the pins with the tension, and just the weight of the handle dropping is enough to set pins. It's actually quite good. So just because the handles are heavy, it doesn't mean that you know, they're not going to be any good. They've all got a purpose. You just got to find the purpose for them. So, so that pretty much covers that. Then we'll go on to the homemade pry bars. I'm not actually sure what these... I know that one's made out of a power hacksaw blade that you get in heavy industry, you know, steel works and whatever. The old electric 410 volt or 415 volt, I think, power hacksaw blades. Well, that's what that one is. It's reasonably thick. I actually think all these three are made out of power hacksaw blades. That one's a fairly thin one, but it's good hard steel. I'm not totally happy with the pry bars. I have trouble working those, and that's a long one. Again, that one probably goes with that brute, so when I start getting frustrated, I can start giving it a bit of stick. Anyway, so I think they're power hacksaw blades. This one here is made out of shim metal that they again normally use in well, from my work history, in industrial complexes for shimming up huge lathes or milling machines and heavy equipment, you know, like that. So that's just out of shim metal. It's relatively thin, a little bit of flex in it. That, I think I've mentioned this one before in some of my picking videos. That's just a rod. I think on your old was that 3 1/4 or 5 1/2 floppy disk drives out of the computer, which you won't get nowadays probably because they're all bloody CDs. And in fact, the CDs nowadays don't actually eject a tray like they used to. You just push the CD in and the CD comes out on its own, not on a tray. So that is the rod, I think, that operates the mechanism which ejects the door. Then you take your disc out and then push the door back in. So I think that's just the rod that operates the door mechanism out of a floppy disk drive. I'd like to get some more of that stuff, actually. That's bloody good, that one. This one here, well, I've discussed this one before. It's just your normal windscreen wiper wrench. You know, I've got 1,000 of them. Windscreen wiper wrench cut down for the keyway to fit in the, well, depending on which way you're looking at, the bottom of the keyway, I suppose. You know, and how come that one's not locked? Oh, because I've got to turn around the right way. Yeah. So, but on this one, I've actually cut the. Oh, you probably never see that. I've cut the end of it out. So I saw a bloke do this on YouTube. I forget his name now. So I've copied off improved tension wrench, I think he called it. So I copied it, and I've got to say, yeah, it's a damn good idea. It grips it, for me anyway, it grips the keyway a lot better than the normal, you know, flat end on the wrench. This one here, this is just on a conventional doorknob. This is the external part of the doorknob, and that's what that is. It's just the rod that connects through to the other doorknob on the inside. That's all that is. So I thought, yeah, that could make a good tension wrench. So a bit of grinding, heated it up and dipped it in water to harden it up a little bit. Yeah, I find that one is pretty good too. This one is my latest addition. This is actually out of, I'm not sure how familiar you people are, but I guess they're all around the world. Those sunshade things you put under your sun visors in your car when they spring out. They're normally round, but you spring them out and they go into a huge oval. Sit it on your windscreen, put your sun visors down, that holds it and keeps the sun out. Well, that is the spring metal out of one of those. Very thin. So on very small keyways, that's really handy. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. I just thought I'd put these up mainly for anybody who, you know, gets a hankering to make their own picks out of steak knives. And like I keep saying, you know, they're dirt cheap. You find them anywhere in thrift shops. Endless supply. So if you break one, well, who cares, just make another one. But the thing is, when you're making it out of these, any stuff-ups you can make, you can replace at minimal cost. And you also can improve on your own design, which may be a little bit different to the ones you buy. See, I noticed the reach hooks on the one you buy, the diamond on the end there is bigger. Now, they obviously work, but I've made this one, well, it's almost a ball on the end of it, because I figure it can get in up the chambers better. But that, you know, could be just me. I'm a rank amateur at this. So, alright, I think that's enough. Anybody out there that's got an interest in having a go at making steak knife picks, absolutely go for it. Because I reckon they're great. I never use my bought picks anymore, mainly because I'm not in a position to replace them if I broke them. So that's why I make these. I don't care if I break any of these, I just make another one. So, alright people, thanks for watching that. Hooroo.